Sisters of the shining moon, heaven, earth, and sea, I call upon you in this hour, bring magic unto me. Brothers, oh, the cauldron cries, it singeth unto me the songs of Mother Goddess and the Father in the tree.
Hello, my lovelies. This is Paisley Wild, and we are off adventuring into the spaces between. And we are being broadcast live on Truth Frequency Radio, iHeartRadio, TuneIn, and TalkStream Live. Hello. And wow, I have a caller already. So hold on, caller, don't go anywhere. Let me do this whole intro thing, and I'll be right there. Goodness gracious. If you're listening in on YouTube, make sure you do hit that like button and the subscribe button if you want to keep listening. And also check out the podcast anywhere that you can find a podcast. That's iTunes, Google Podcasts, Spotify, etc., etc. And no matter how you are hearing me, make sure you do stop in and say hello. Oh, the call went away. Okay. And no, thank you for joining me on my journey as I develop my spirituality and all that stuff along the pagan path. So, thank you. And if you do want to support the show, thank you. And you can do so by going to the Etsy shop. That is etsy.com/shop/Monarch Mountain Studio, and Mountain is MTN. And you can also check out the Patreon. That's at patreon.com/the spaces between. Call board is open tonight. And caller, if you want to call back, please do so. You weren't there very long. And the number is 213-233-3998. Or if you're across the pond in the UK, you can call 44203-393-2871. So hello. I hope everyone's having just a lovely, lovely day. And yay, it's Happy Friday. So just real quick, tomorrow is the full moon. Yes. And so it is considered the first supermoon, of course, of the year, because why not? Supermoon just means it's relatively close to the Earth. And that's cool. And so it just makes it look bigger. And this particular moon is called the snow moon. And it's generally because of the amount of winter weather that we experience this time of year. Now, this year, the weather has been a little odd, I must say. I know, like, here in North Idaho, it's been warm and cold and warm and cold and snow and no snow. And then we had about 120 inches of snow in the month of January. and yeah, it just kind of crazy. We have been, I don't know, it's snow flurries out there right now, and we've had rain, and I don't know, just crazy. So yeah, snow supermoon just means it's snow. And have a good evening, Marilena. So yeah, just if you are getting ready to do like moon water, make sure you do set it out tomorrow night as the day ends in the light of the full moon. If you are someplace where it can't be outside, a windowsill is just fine, absolutely. Just make sure it's out when the sun goes down, and you gather it back up before the sun comes back up. So that's the biggest thing. And yeah. You can use that moon water to bless things. It's basically, I guess, a pagan version of holy water because it's been blessed by the moon. You can also make sun water during the daylight, because different spells and rituals require the sun's energy, and you can infuse the water with the energy of the sun, just like infusing the water with the energy of the moon. Also, with the full moon, those intentions that we set at the new moon should kind of become noticeable. What kind of fruition are you expecting, and just kind of what's going on. So, um, so yeah, full moon. A lot of energy in the full moon. A lot of rituals are done on full moons. Those are your sabbats, esbats. Oh gosh, all these. Um, yeah, it's more of an esbat than a sabbat, I guess. So yeah, esbat, full moon. All these fun words. It's amazing when you start delving into a culture or a religion or a faith or a practice. There's all these new words. Actually, I've noticed it. It applies to almost any world that we enter into, whether it's walking your pagan path or getting a new job. There's always new lingo and words, and yeah, don't be afraid to have a cheat sheet. That's what journals are for. I have 3 just for my office at work, and yeah, it just you don't be afraid to write things down. So tonight, um, I just it's been an interesting couple of weeks, and on a personal note, and doing things differently in my own personal world. There's been some changes at home, changes at work, that kind of thing, and developing the circle here locally, and kind of what that's going to look like working with Black Tree, and just kind of figuring out the structure of a circle or a coven or a moot or a grove or any of those things. And so for the purpose tonight, I'm just going to call it a circle, mostly because I feel a circle is all encompassing, 100%. And so I just want to talk a little bit about the structure of it, because, um, you know, everybody's like, ooh, it's a coven, it's a circle, there's 13 witches, and hey, they're going to do magic. And there's more to it than that, really, truly. And I don't know, it just seems like a good time to talk about it as I'm doing some research here, trying to figure it out and do more. And, but yeah. So, generally speaking, if you're a solo practitioner, which is fine, there's nothing wrong with that. Even though you may be more of a soloist, occasionally you're going to want to attend community meetings or regional meetings where you have a chance to commune with other people of like faiths and like beliefs, because it's good, because sometimes you need that new energy and that new life to what you're trying to do, and that new insight to your path, or sometimes you just need a little bit of guidance, honestly. And it happens with all of us. And so often, and the reason why I'm using the word circle here is because, again, all encompassing. So that outer ring, if you will, is the external. That could be anybody who is just interested in being a witch or a pagan. It could be just the general public, probably more the general public. And then the next layer in is those who are interested in being a witch or a pagan and are looking for more information. And so they're attending maybe a public meeting of some sort. Here locally, we try to get together and have a coffee get together. It's happening about once every 6 weeks, just because during the winter, it's the roads are kind of an adventure here in North Idaho. And now that spring breakup is rapidly coming, the potholes are turning into Grand Canyons. You've got to be careful. You're going to break an axle, seriously. But that that next layer. And then and then the next one in really truly is you know kind of those who have applied or have a desire to be a part of the circle or the coven. And either they are working through a curriculum of some sort to become full members, or they're seeking a path. Maybe is seeker is a common word for that layer. And from there, you've got the ones that have gotten through that phase, and they're becoming more dedicated to their path. Maybe they've dedicated themselves to a particular deity that they're working with, or they're affirming their beliefs and their traditions within that coven. And from there, the dedicants, and a lot of people stay right there because that's where they want to be. They don't have a desire to move up in leadership or be a more invested member of the coven or circle. And generally it's more of a commitment to the circle. And from there, you're the ones who have an interest in becoming a priest or a priestess. And so they're taking the next level up as far as training goes, or education, or exploring their path. And often there's, it's not necessarily the inner circle, but it is a part of the inner circle. Maybe a novice, or something I've noticed with each, as I'm doing research and such, the different circles, different groups, covens, etc., often have different names for these different layers. And dedicant, seeker, novice, apprentice. There's just golly, you can pick just about any word, and some of them, they're there. There's even like maybe rabbit or crow or raven or deer. Different names for different levels, and so it really varies a bit. And so you just talk to your leadership of your circle or your coven to kind of understand what the different levels are and what they involve. And from those that are that level of they're aspiring to be leaders in the community, the pagan community, the witch community. From there, those who have passed that level, and they're considered priests or priestesses. They've hit that level. And some stay there because they like that support. And often they're more of the inner circle. They'll coordinate a lot of the rituals. They may be doing outreach in the community. They may be educating those members who are at the seeker level that are just learning more. And it's a really great opportunity to just, develop your path a little bit more and get more into or firm your knowledge base a little bit. And then from there, generally speaking, you have either a priest or priestess, or a high priest or high priestess, or even both. And it really depends upon, again, the structure of your circle. A lot of the neo-pagans, and I'm kind of doing a generalization here, have more of they go with a priestess, and some go more with a priest, depending on, especially if there's a patron or patroness deity for the circle. And again, it varies a bit, and it's just, I don't know, it's interesting. And there really is no set number or limit to the number of people in a circle. Yes, 13 is a magic number, generally speaking, in Gardnerian Wicca. Generally, it was considered the perfect number. There'd be one leader, and then it'd be 6 couples, men and women, so you get both the masculine and feminine. And he preferred them to be matched couples, like married or together in some way. And there's just I don't know, that that structure is like that. It's kind of a cone shape. It's a pyramid, if you will, and it's there to kind of support the entire group and to prevent the leadership burnout or the priest or priestess burnout, because that's a real thing. If you stop and think about it, there's 8 Sabbats. Those are the major holidays like Yule and Beltane and um, oh, my brain is just quitting now. Samhain, etc. And then the Esbats are the full moons. And so that's, you know, 20 to 21 ritual type things that a circle might do in a year. And then, in addition to that, there may be leadership opportunities outside of the ritual that would be like your public groups, your meeting groups, like we do the coffee here that's open to the public. So yeah, then if we're doing one of those every month, there's another 12. So suddenly we're looking at 30 to 40 different events that we're trying to do. And if it's all on one or two people, that really leads to burnout because a lot of us, generally speaking, are not paid to do this. It's a volunteer thing. It's something we want to do for our community and a way to participate. And we feel called to that leadership type role. And that's good, but there is a really big potential for burnout, honestly, and especially when things happen, like often, in any group, really truly in any group, there's going to be personality conflicts and there's going to be stress between individuals because someone may not be happy with another person's lifestyle or vice versa, or life choices or vice versa. And, there's a lot there's a lot there, because not only are the leaders trying to manage all of those different rituals and such, which is a big deal, but then you're also trying to manage all those people also. And anybody who's ever worked in a business, especially if you're in a leadership position in a business, or even if you're not, you can tell. You've got your supervisors, you got your team leads, you've got your managers, assistant managers, etc. You've got your general managers. You got your board of directors, your CEO, CFO, COO, etc., etc., etc. Division leaders, division managers, etc. And that's so that the people at the top aren't trying to do everything. I mean, really, truly. And because it is just too much work for any one person to try to juggle all of those things. And wow, you're going to drop something. Because, yeah. Yeah, and then heaven forbid, day, yes. And then you have your own life. Outside of, your path and being the circle leader, maybe you have a significant other, children, pets, a job, a career outside of there. And, suddenly, wow, you are just, you're not sleeping and and you're not taking care of yourself and you're getting sick and stress happens and then you lose your mind and you say go fly a kite everyone and take a hiatus for the next 3 years, because sure, why not? And if you ever wonder about it, if you sit down and count up the amount of time it might take for any of those things, and seriously, just for a visual effect, if you need an example for your friends, your family, your circle mates, etc., get a bag of chocolate kisses. And Courtney and I were talking, and this is something that she did, and is real. You get Hershey's Kisses, you pick one, or you get one for every hour in the month. And you divvy it up. And so however many hours you spend doing ritual stuff, you take those out and you set them aside. And then you see all these Hershey's Kisses and okay, family stuff, you take those out and you put them away. And then you work. So for me, I have almost a 1 hour commute back or for one direction to work. So I got my 40-hour work week and my 1 hour lunch break, and then I drive 2 hours a day. So my 40-hour work week is closer to 70. And so you take, those out. And you know, um, and then you got to take out some time for sleep. And suddenly you're like, wow, I've got like 3 Hershey's Kisses left, and I haven't eaten, and I haven't spent time with my family. Or, and so you're like, well, what do I do? Well, this pile of sleep, well, I'm going to take some of that so I can eat and spend time with my family. And so suddenly you're losing sleep. And you just, at the end of it, you don't have enough stuff. You don't have enough time to do all those things. So that's why you need to delegate, which, on the one hand, delegate is kind of a overused word, but it is real because when people are showing up and they're participating, one, it takes the burden off of you and gives them a chance to learn more about the leadership part. Because some people really, really like or think they want to be, um, a priest or priestess. They want to be the leadership. And then once they have the opportunity to lead a ritual, they're like, you know what? Nah, that's not what I want to do anymore. Thanks, I tried it, I'm done, moving on. And you know what? That's okay. But because you've tried it in a ritual or tried it in a safe setting, like maybe doing an SBAT, which is generally more private than a Sabbat, um, you know, that that gives you a nice, comfortable feeling of trying something in a safe place, and you're like, you know what? No, I'm not ready for that type of leadership right now. And and that's okay. It is okay to acknowledge that you're not ready for leadership. 100%. It's a strong person that can admit that they're not ready for something. It actually takes more strength of character and strength of personality to admit that you're not ready for something. And you know what? It's hard. It is hard to admit to anybody that you're not ready for the responsibility or something, or you're just not ready. And you know what? Yes, it's okay. Accept it. It's okay. Um, and you may not be ready today, but in 3 months you might be, or 6 months, or a year. And as we grow as people, not just as growing on our path, but growing as people, um, you know, y- you may be ready to take up that mantle of leadership down the road, or you may not, and that's okay. Seriously, it's okay, people. So, um, you know, generally speaking, though, in a circle or ritual, attendance may or may not be mandatory depending on how you structure it. But you do need some that are mandatory. Maybe it's like you must attend 3 or 4, because we're going to talk about kind of the rules, as because there's a commitment if you join a circle or a coven. Seriously, there is. And that's okay. So even though it may not be mandatory to attend everything, you do still need to attend some, because you're still growing upon your path and you're experiencing different things. And the other reason why you have different people doing your different rituals, diversifying that experience and that and people doing things, is because everybody's going to have a slightly different perspective of how to accomplish a task. And they may person A may see something this way, and person B may see something this way, and person C may not be able to see either of those ways because they're off over here doing something else and visualizing something else. But because you're taking turns, you're seeing those different perspectives, and you're broadening your knowledge base, you're broadening your understanding of your path. And that's true not just for being pagan, but that's for almost any other spirituality or religion. If you're experiencing whatever it is from several different viewpoints, you'll have a better understanding and knowledge of what you're trying to do, even with your career. That's why job shadowing is really important for, say, high school kids or college kids before they actually enter the workplace in a chosen profession, because that way they get a better understanding of what they're committing to. I mean, before you commit to, having a 6-figure student loan debt because you want to be a doctor, I would job shadow someone just a little bit. make sure that's something you really want to do. Or attorney, or any of those. I know a couple people who have gone through their entire level of education, whether it's doctor, or attorney or accountant or any of those things. They've invested time and money and energy into getting that degree. They get out of school, they pass whatever they needed to do to get their licenses, they go do their career thing for 6 months to a year, and they're like, wow, this is so not what I want to do. And then they go work somewhere else. So they've got this big 6-figure, debt first from student loans and financial aid and all that stuff here in the U.S. And they go and are, flipping burgers at at McDonald's, or, stocking shelves at Walmart, or at the local manufacturing to build cars or coffee roasters or planes or whatever. So, whatever it is you're trying to do, don't be afraid to experience it before you totally commit. So, anyways, that was structure. We're going to talk about rules and such in just a little bit, because we're going to take a break. And just remember, okay, the call line is open. If you call and I don't notice, say something in chat so I look. But we'll be right back.
of the shining moon, heaven, earth, and sea, I call upon you in this hour, bring magic unto me. Brothers, oh, the cauldron cries, it singeth unto me the songs of Mother Goddess and of Father in the tree.
Hello, my lovelies. This is Paisley Wild, and we are off adventuring into the spaces between. And remember, we are being broadcast live on Truth Frequency Radio, iHeartRadio, TuneIn, and TalkStream Live. So I hope everyone's having a good evening. And yeah, a little heavy on the topic tonight, but you know what? I think it's good because structure is good for us. Did you know that humanity craves structure, if for no other reason than to fight against it? Because we thrive in that competition, if you will, that adversity. So yes, structure's good for us. We crave it, even though our kiddos don't believe us and they want to be little hoodlums and heathens and okay, not heathens, but hoodlums. Yes, structure's still good for them. So, yeah, developing your circle, your coven. You know what is it? What's next? So, we talked about some of the different hierarchy, if you will, and from there you need to kind of, with that, you need to also kind of develop some rules because rules are necessary. Otherwise, anarchy happens, and that structure kind of goes out the window. And instead of a circle, you might have just some fun insanity. Really, truly, and yeah. And then what do you accomplish? Nothing but heartache and frustration. And when you induct new members into your circle or coven, they need to understand what your rules are. I mean, seriously. So, what basically, just start off. Before you start your own circle or coven, you know, think about how much time do you have? How much time do you have to invest? I mean, seriously. Because as I mentioned in the first half, there's a lot of rituals, there's, events, there's support things, and then, heaven forbid, someone wants a christening for their children, they want a hand fasting, because it happens. Maybe you need to do, a memorial of some sort, or a final resting for someone who's passed, or someone's sick, you go visit them in the hospital, that kind of thing. So yeah, it's real. So there's time there, and so how much time do you have? And for ourselves here, we decided to go with the circle rather than a coven. Mostly because a circle is all-encompassing. Everyone can fit within the circle. And we're very eclectic, and that's okay. So, yes, everything's okay. And it's, as you're trying to decide coven or moot or whatever label you're going to apply to yourself, stop and think about, what kind of people are you going to be drawing in? And, is it going to be public? Is it going to be private? Is it going to be a combination? What is it that you are going to do? How many people do you think are going to join? I mean, seriously. Here in North Idaho, it is kind of varies because the community that's close by is very liberal. The rural areas tend to be a little bit more conservative, And there's a very interesting group of people all around us. Some of them are very, very reserved and very traditional Christian and hellfire and damnation just about. And the other end of the spectrum is I don't even know what the other end of the spectrum is. Oh, I guess atheism or Gnostic or something like that. So yeah, it's just there's pagans, there's witches, there's Wiccans. We've got a Shaker church here actually. There's Seventh Day. There's Church of Latter-day Saints. There's Christian Science. I mean, there's Lutheran. There's Baptist. There's blah 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 blah. There's so many different churches. Not a single flippin' church for pagans, of course, but that's okay. That's what we can just go outside and hey, we're there. So I guess we got them beat. We've got the bigger church. But no, seriously, how many people do you anticipate being a part of your group? Honestly, 100%, because that's gonna impact where you meet. And you need to pay attention to the different community restrictions. So if you're going to meet in a public place, say you're going to go to a park, what can you do or not do? Now here, for instance, because we live in the Pacific Northwest and alpine mountains and all that jazz, during the summer, things dry out just a little bit here. We have fire hazards and you can't have open fires. So if you're going to do a public event in like a city park, can you have candles? Can you have a fire? What can you do? So you need to be aware of that. And if it's a private event, sometimes you still need a burn permit, for instance. So yeah, it's who's going to be in your group? Like we are pretty eclectic because we follow. Since we're a bunch of individuals up here, individual practitioners, soloists, whatever, we couldn't just pick one particular pantheon, I suppose, to celebrate, because then there'd only be like 2 or 3 people. Now that being said, I do know we've got a Dianic coven here locally, within an hour's drive, and they do awesome things, but that's not my path. That's not my tradition, and so that's why we're doing our own thing. So yeah, we're going to be pretty eclectic, I think. Is there a set leader, or will members take turns leading? I mean, is it? Are you going to have a priest, a high priestess, or are you going to take turns? Have that could go either way, depending on how you set it up or structure it. Personally, even if you do take turns leading, you still need to have that ultimate authority, if you will. So, I don't know. That's my own personal opinion, but it's up to you. If you're setting one up or joining one, you need to pay attention to these. How are you going to develop the rules? I mean, seriously, are you just going to pick something out of the blue, or are you going to sit down and just pencil them out and over coffee one day, or what are you going to do? Are you going to have a written rule book? So hey, you're going to sign off on these different rules when you're joining this circle, because this is the expectation. And in a way, that's a really, really good thing, because if someone's signing on the bottom line saying, yes, I'm going to commit this time to this group to do these things, that's good. I mean, you've got that commitment. But some people aren't going to want to commit like that. Some people have commitment issues. Just saying. Are incoming students or applicants going to fill out a questionnaire? Again, I think this is a good thing, because that way maybe where they're at, what knowledge they have, where they'd like to go. It's a good foundation of getting to know someone. It really, truly is. Is there an age limit? Is it open to all ages? Just, those over age of 21? What is it going to be? And the reason for this is legally most groups don't accept anyone under the age of 18. unless they're the child of an adult member. Um, and that child has to be accompanied by that adult at all functions. Just because there's a lot of rituals that pagans and witches are known for can be very risque. So maybe you have a blend. Maybe you have some rituals that are, you know, 21 or older, not safe for work, that kind of thing. And maybe some are under, you know, or open to all ages, a family event. So you just gotta, you know, go into that, be aware. If you have children and you join a circle or a coven, ask what the requirements are, what the age limits are for someone to attend. Because if you want to attend these things, you know what? Do you need a babysitter? That's a big deal. Or child care provided. Excuse me. And it's y- while I am open to taking or helping people of any age, because I think there are a lot of kids out there who are perhaps more empathic or intuitive than others that often receive or on the receiving end of, say, bullying, that kind of thing. And, they need that extra guidance, that extra help. And but you need to be aware, just because there are some legalities there. So maybe get their. I mean, churches are open to everyone. Doesn't really matter the age. They actually like to get them in there as young as possible. Not going to go any further into that, but yes. So Dave mentions in chat, if you're thinking about joining a group, try it out for a couple weeks, and if you're not comfortable, leave. That's the other thing. You need to have the ability for people to leave. They're not joining for life. This is not a lifetime commitment. You have not signed your soul away in blood that you're going to be part of this circle or coven for the rest of your natural life and afterlife. That's not the way it works. You need to allow people to move on and leave, because you know what? As people grow and develop, their path may change, their direction may change, or they may need additional guidance on a different path, and that's okay. And yeah, it's real. So you need to allow them to grow beyond your borders, if you will. So then, yeah, you need to have your different levels or degrees, or seeker, dedicant, initiate, etc., etc. And then in your inner circle, or whatever you're going to call those folks. And you also need to have the opportunity for your upper leadership, or your priests or priestesses, if they decide they want to start their own coven, you need to have that ability out there to franchise out, if you will. So yes. So yeah. Naga says that his daughter is more sensitive than he is. Totally get it. I feel that Minnie Paisley is absolutely. She's an old soul. I don't know if she's more sensitive, but she's definitely an old soul. And feels things a little bit differently. And now with the different or levels or degrees, is there a clothing or a dress code or a non-dress code? Like I said, some of the rituals are really not safe for work. So because a lot of your dedicant type ceremonies are often skyclad. Okay, not often. Or can be skyclad. Actually, any of these could be skyclad. But most people like to wear something. So you know what? What are you gonna do? Are you gonna wear special robes? Are you gonna do different colors? There's this whole structure. Hey, Justin. Then who's going to design the rituals? Is it going to be just the upper level priests and priestesses? Is it going to be anybody who's on the path to become, what are you going to do? How are you going to develop it? Um, are you going to have a community altar, or is everybody going to have their own? Do you have one that travels? What are you going to do? You really need to. This is all those things. Just because it's your footwork, your groundwork. You're putting um, your foundation up, um, and your energy. Yes. Um, at what point do you start teaching spell work to the people just coming onto the path and developing things? Do you wait until they've been doing it for a while, or are you gonna just start them off really right at the beginning? So, what do you do? And then if you do have different levels, from like degrees or applicants, dedicants, etc., how do they get from one level to the next? I mean, do you throw lots? Do you tug of war? Do you they recite poems? Can you repeat the Eddas? I mean, seriously, what are you gonna do? So, yeah, you gotta. What are you gonna do? How are you gonna do it? So there's the whole structure to it, and then when it comes to those rules, just like starting a new business, you need to have some rules of incorporation, some basic covenants, if you will. Like, I'm not going to badmouth others. Or if someone is in the closet out in public and are only coming to the private sessions, you're not going to out them in public. And, oh goodness, Naga. So, yeah. If either there's I guess, a code of silence or protection. If someone joins your family, your circle, you're going to protect them and you're not going to out them and badmouth them in public. And that's actually shouldn't have to be a rule. You would think it'd be common courtesy. But I guess I don't know if it's just because we've got so many keyboard warriors right now, or what the dealio is. But that common courtesy seems to be kind of flying out the window, and I don't get it. Communication. Well, what are the avenues of communication? I know from a leadership point of view that if I don't know there's an issue, there is not a doggone thing I can do to fix it. That's also true for customer service, by the way. Anyone in the service industry, if they don't know there's a problem, they can't fix it. So yes, as a leader, if I don't know there's a problem, how am I supposed to fix it? I am not really a mind reader. Okay, no, I'm not really a mind reader. I missed that class in high school. I can figure things out. I can kind of tell some things sometimes just by the energy of the room and the area I'm in. But generally speaking, if you don't tell me there's a problem, I don't know. Mostly because my brain is going about 9 million different directions at any one given time, and there's just not enough room in my brain to figure out what you're thinking. I'm sorry. It's a weakness. Your brain is not as important to me as my brain is. It's just, I got to draw that line. So, and if I don't know that you have a problem, don't get mad at me. Because if I don't know, don't assume that I know something. As a leader, or your leader if you're in a different circle or coven. Seriously. And when it comes to communication and leadership, I got to tell you, I took this as a class here a couple years back, and it was how to manage difficult people. And it was really interesting because at the time I was working with someone who just drove me bat crap crazy, and I didn't know how to work with her because we just came from two entirely different points of view, and I just drove me nuts. And so I figured, no, I want to take this class and see if there's some way for me to communicate with her and develop a good working relationship, because I wanted to grow. And actually, the class wasn't about how to manage difficult people, it was how to communicate to different personality types. And you know what? It was a really fascinating class, and I think it lasted 4 hours, and I could have sat there for about 2 weeks learning more stuff. Because, by golly, the different personality types are really interesting on how they communicate. And you have to find that common ground, but everybody responds differently, and everybody communicates slightly differently. I know some people who grew up in a household where everybody was extraordinarily loud. And I myself grew up in a household that was pretty quiet most of the time. And so even though these loud people are just being loud because that's their volume, often it feels like they're yelling. And they're not. They're just communicating. So that was a way I had to, refocus. It's like they're not yelling, they're not mad at me. It's just their way of communicating. But it was hard to reset my thinking that way because it wasn't what I was used to. So, you have to keep that open mind and you have to look for that common ground, that connection. And yelling louder at someone who doesn't yell isn't a good way to get the point across. You're not getting your message across because all they hear is ah, and no one wants that. So, communicate. Write it down if you have to. Just remember, the written word is 2D. There's no sarcasm, there's no humor, there's no inflection. So, don't write something and assume they're going to hear it the same way you're saying it, because they're going to hear it through the filter of their own lens, their own life experience. And if their life experience is different than yours, they're going to hear a different message, even though you guys are using the same words. You might both be saying the sky is blue, but one's thinking, oh, it's dark blue. Look at that, it's a lovely evening. And the other one is saying, oh, it's a light blue. It's a lovely morning. Yes, it's all blue, but by golly, they're two entirely different things. So, keep in mind when you're communicating, you have to be clear, you have to be concise, and you can't muddy it, honestly. And if someone doesn't understand what you're saying, you cannot just keep beating them up using the same words over and over and over again, because you're not getting the message across. You're just getting, you begin to sound like the teachers in Charlie Brown. Wah, 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 wah. There's no message there. It's just noise. So, anyways, communicate and figure out your structure, which communication is a big part of that. So, yeah. I don't know, that was kind of the big thing I wanted to talk about, the structure of a circle. And the peanut gallery here, Deb says, hi, Dawn. Dawn waves. It's, I don't know, it's frustrating when I see a group of people that have been a really, really good team, and then suddenly the communication shifts because maybe someone's tired or someone's having problems, and or maybe someone doesn't have time anymore, and that communication just falls apart, and as a result that team then is destroyed. And then, yeah, it's frustrating to see that happen, because that's how businesses are lost, that's how friendships are lost, that's how families are hurt. So communication's a big deal. Don't forget to listen, to hear, not just to speak. So Nessie says the coughing gave you away. That's too funny. So yeah. Sorry, I didn't keep checking the call board, so if anybody called and I didn't catch you, I'm sorry. But when you're looking at joining a circle or coven, a grove, a moot, etc., yes, try to do a tag-along, go to one of their rituals, experience it, experience the way they do things, talk to different members. And if you're setting one up, there's lots of resources actually online. Just Google how to set up a coven, or seriously, there's books. Coven Craft by Amber Kay is actually pretty good, by the way. I have that one in PDF, and it's got a lot of information, but it's not the best read. Naga, there is a YouTube channel. Yes, it's YouTube / the spaces between, youtube.com / the spaces between, and so I guess tomorrow night. I don't know what we're talking about tomorrow night. Maybe I'll ask Don. He should have an idea. He's generally pretty good. We'll probably talk about the full moon some more, because it is going to be a big, beautiful full moon. Yes, it will. And it's a good time to start. What do you need to let go of as the
time to start cleaning?
the moon wanes?
Because we're going into spring.
No, spring cleaning happens in March. So
Time to start thinking.
yep, gotta get a plan. I'd start planning for a garden. So, anyways, if you have any questions, by all means, send me an email. It's wildpaisley@gmail.com. That's WILDEPAISLEY @gmail.com. Merry meet, merry part, merry meet again.
Lord, written sun, as we will, so mote it be, the spell forever done. Sisters of the shining